A summary of the news from around the world now. Josef Fritzl, the 73-year-old Austrian man who imprisoned and abused his daughter for nearly a quarter of a century, has been sentenced to life in a psychiatric unit. It's emerged he decided to plead guilty to all charges when he spotted his daughter in court in disguise. Hundreds of thousands have marched in a number of cities across France in a day of protest over President Nicolas Sarkozy's handling of the economy. The United States has expressed concern over reports that North Korean security forces have detained 2 American journalists on the Chinese side of the border with North Korea. The journalists reportedly ignored warnings to stop filming. Israel has detained 10 senior Hamas leaders in the West Bank 2 days after indirect talks on a possible prisoner swap collapsed. The Israeli military said those detained were leading efforts to re-establish Hamas in the West Bank. And those are the latest headlines from around the world.
Hard-hitting interviews with newsmakers and personalities from across the globe. This is BBC World News and Hard Talk.
Does Africa have leaders capable of solving Africa's problems? Well, my guest today is one of the continent's most experienced leaders. Olusegun Obasanjo was president of Nigeria twice. His last 8-year term ended in 2007. Now he's a UN special envoy to the troubled eastern region of Congo. Does his record inside Nigeria lend him any credibility as a regional statesman? Olusegun Obasanjo, welcome to Hard Talk.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Let's start with your role in the Democratic Republic of Congo. You were appointed late last year by the Secretary General to be a special envoy, a mediator. Do you believe you've made progress to stabilizing and pacifying Eastern Congo?
Of course I do believe that substantial progress has been made. I won't say we are there yet, but substantial progress has been made. Steve, by the time of my appointment, what does the world see about the Congo? Almost a monumental humanitarian crisis that really shocked the conscience of the world.
Hundreds of thousands of people displaced, and indeed a new military campaign that we saw breaking out in the autumn of last year.
From August last year, which led to that monumental humanitarian crisis. And of course, everywhere in the world, people were concerned. For that was what led to the Secretary General of the United Nations appointing me as a special envoy.
But after you were appointed, if I may interrupt, what we saw in January was a new military offensive, this time on behalf of both the Congolese army and the Rwandan army, in a joint operation, a massive offensive against the Hutu militiamen in the east. Was that something you were in favor of?
On the 7th of November last year, the leaders of the Great Lakes region called for a summit. The Secretary General of the United Nations himself was at that summit. The leaders of AU were at that summit. And that summit took certain decisions. One, to confirm my appointment, not only as a special envoy of the Secretary General, but also as facilitator / mediator for the Great Lakes region and for the AU, and also for President Benjamin Mkapa, the former president of Tanzania, to join me.
I put it to you again. Are you in favor of these joint military operations, Congolese army and Rwandan army working together to try to to use the phrase used by the president of Rwanda, eradicate the Hutu militias. Do you favor them?
At that point, the main problem of the humanitarian crisis had been stemmed. But on the 7th of November, as I told you, when the leaders of the Great Lakes met in Nairobi, President Kagame and President Kabila will not exchange greetings, let alone shake hands. Now, that is a major problem, because if two neighbors are so cross against themselves that they won't talk to themselves, you cannot talk of peace. Now, the situation started moving. They started talking to themselves to the point not only are they talking, they even came to work out a joint operation for peace in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And President Kagame said that in his own lifetime, he hasn't seen any time that he is confident about peace in the Congo and the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo other than now. And if he said that, he knows what he's talking about.
He told me just the other day that all of his forces are now out of Congo. Is that true?
I would believe him. I have no cause not to believe him. But coming back to the point I made, or I'm making, the point that the two countries agree to have a joint operation, I think must be applauded.
I appreciate the point you're making, but it raises questions as well.
Now,
for example, hang on, I've got a question for you. For example, one question is the fate of Laurent Nkunda, who was one of the leaders of the militia fighting the Hutus in eastern Congo, a man who was supported by Rwanda, but whom the Rwandan government now hold under some form of house arrest. Now, the Congolese government wants Nkunda to stand trial for war crimes inside Congo. Is your message to Rwanda that they should hand him over to Congo for trial?
No, I have no message for Rwanda. I have peace mission in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. I have peace mission in the whole of Great Lakes region. Now, I don't tell Rwanda government or Congo government what they should do. Now, if Laurent Nkunda had committed any crime against his country or against anybody, and he has to be held responsible, that is the responsibility of the Congo government of Democratic Republic of Congo.
Of course, but you are there as an advisor, as a mediator, as a man who sends messages on behalf of the UN Secretary General to both sides.
I'm not advisor. I'm mediator. I'm facilitator.
And you send messages on behalf of the UN Secretary General. In your opinion, would it help the process of peace and stabilization for Nkunda to be sent to Congo for trial?
If there's extradition agreement between Congo and Rwanda, and Nkunda is a wanted man in the Congo and is in the hands of Rwanda, and that type of agreement will have to be accepted and worked upon. It may be on terms that they will agree between themselves, but that is the way it goes.
Do you believe that President Kabila has the capacity to unify and pacify all of his country? Because in the end, that is what the hundreds of thousands of people who've suffered in eastern Congo and northeastern Congo, close to the Ugandan border, that is what they want to know. Can Kabila deliver long-term peace in his own vast country?
I believe Kabila can lay the foundation of long-term peace in his country. What are the ingredients for this. Kabila, of all the leaders that have come since after independence of the Congo, Kabila is the one today that has legitimacy through a nationwide democratic election. So he has that to his credit. And then Congo is very weak in what I call the institutions of state. So what the international community should do for the Congo, just as they have done for the election, is to help Congo to build and establish those necessary institutions to really make Congo a strong state. Congo is not a failed state, but it's a very weak state.
I'm interested that you talk about the role of the international community. I want to broaden out the interview and talk about issues of legitimacy, of justice, and the international community. And let's take as a case study Sudan. Do you support the International Criminal Court's indictment and warrant for the arrest of President Bashir of Sudan for crimes against humanity?
I have to know what the crimes are and how they were committed before I give you an answer one way or the other. As at the moment, I don't know what the crimes are. I don't know how he has committed.
Well, we know that hundreds of thousands of people have either died or been seriously wounded. Many, many more have been forced from their homes in Darfur. We know that he stands accused of war crimes and crimes against humanity. I think it's safe to assume very serious allegations of his directing a military campaign against civilians. That's at the heart of this. But the point is, the International Court wants to put President Bashir in front of it so it can test the level of his responsibility. They believe there is enough evidence to at least have the trial.
Well, if they put those pieces of evidence open, public, and we can all see it.
So you're not happy to take on trust the International Criminal Court?
No.
Like other African leaders. President Kagame told us it was an instrument of colonialism. We've had the South African government call it regrettable. We've had the Sudanese themselves reject it absolutely and throw out aid agencies as a result. It sounds to me like you are defending the Sudanese government's position.
No, I'm not defending the Sudanese government position. I am not even holding brief for anybody. In government, I was one of those who supported and signed on to ICC in the hope and in the belief that it will be fair, just, non-political, absolutely doing what it should do.
Well, that's what it is doing,
today, I am not
doing?
sure how non-political ICC is.
See,
that is the truth. I cannot tell you that.
Is it not the case that Africans across the continent want to see their leaders held to account? They want the notion of justice to have some practical import in their lives.
Yes, but on what basis? I've just given you an example. If it can be shown and proved beyond any reasonable doubt that President al-Bashir had given instruction for his troops to commit a genocide, of course I will be one of the first to say, then he must face the music. But have we got that proof?
Well, you get the proof in the trial. You seem to be putting the cart before the horse, if I may say so.
Because before I condemn anybody, or not condemn anybody, I want to have hard evidence.
All right, well, let's talk about justice and accountability in a rather more personal setting, if I may. And let's bring the conversation to Nigeria. I've looked across the Nigerian press, I've listened to people from the National Assembly, and I've also looked at some records coming out of the courts in your country and in America as well, and there are serious allegations concerning you and your family and corruption and kickbacks.
Now,
are you prepared to face those charges and to give a full accounting?
I'm very, very much so. Very much so. And if you have any evidence, Steve, please show it to me, and I will defend myself anywhere in the world.
Well,
because what you are saying is absolute nonsense, without due respect. I am the only leader in Nigeria that has been examined and reported upon by the anti-corruption bodies in Nigeria. I am the only one.
When your successor took over, he described corruption in the country as endemic, and he said it was the country's elite that was responsible.
Well, he's one of them.
What?
He's one of Nigeria's elite.
Of course he is, and he's saying, as he takes over and looks at what is happening inside government, there is corruption to the very top. That doesn't reflect well on you.
If he said that, did he mention Obasanjo? Did he mention Obasanjo, Steve?
But you were the president.
You were
responsible for the governance of your country.
No, I'm not responsible for the corruption of every Nigerian.
Not every Nigerian, but you are, in the end, the chief executive of a country which your own successor says is endemically corrupt.
You have made strong allegations against me personally, and against my family.
I'm coming to that.
And you have no way to substantiate it. And if not that this is something where you are taking undue advantage, I will have even say that.
Let's talk.
I will go beyond here.
Well, let's talk specifics then. Halliburton and various Halliburton subsidiaries have paid vast amounts of money in fines in the United States because of bribes and corruption paid out to Nigerian officials. And if one takes the testimony...
Are those Nigerian officials, am I one of them?
Well, let's talk about that.
Am I one of them,
Albert
Steve?
Jack Stanley confessed last year in the United States to bribing, and this is according to a U.S. court document, quote, 3 successive holders of a top-level office in the executive branch of the Nigerian government. He negotiated with these office holders representatives regarding the amount of bribes that would be paid. Now, if one cross-checks that, I'm coming to that. If one cross-checks that with the testimony before a French prosecutor of Jeffrey Tesla, another Halliburton agent involved, I'm sure you know these names, he named you as one of 3 successive Nigerian heads of state who'd been involved in negotiations with the Halliburton subsidiaries, which were later in a U.S. court found to have been guilty of bribes and corruption on a massive scale.
Tesla will never say that. Tesla,
it's in the French records.
Let Tesla bring out because by the time when you say somebody is guilty of corruption, there must be the giver, there must be the taker, and there must be the evidence.
Did you have communication with Jeffrey Tesla?
No.
Never?
No.
Absolutely never, despite anything he has testified.
Not me personally.
As you know, he's been arrested. And the U.S. is now seeking his extradition. Are you worried about what he may say in a U.S. court?
I am not worried. He will bring evidence. I'm not worried. I am not worried. I am very, very sure of my position and my stand. All right? I do not say that people in my government were not corrupt. But I am.
Well, let's stop you just there. Are you saying that people in your government were corrupt?
Of course, I will not. Can you say the people in the government of any country are not corrupt?
But I'm talking about senior people. I'm talking about ministers. I'm talking about your closest allies. Do you now believe some of them were corrupt?
Well, my vice president had something to do with Jefferson, which is part of the case in America. I don't know whether corruption has been proved or not, but he had a question to answer.
Is it not a terrible failing? And we'll leave aside, perhaps for the courts to decide whether you personally can be held to account for any of this, but do you accept it was a terrible failing for you as president to see inside your government, at the very top of your government, according to your own successor, that there was rampant corruption?
I do not accept that, because if in any government, somebody is found to be corrupt, the onus lie on the head of that government to bring that man to book. When I was the head of government, there's no case of corruption against any minister, any high government official.
But that just shows the system doesn't work.
No, I don't agree with you.
But you've admitted to me that corruption was prevalent in your country when you were president. And yet not one senior official inside your federal government has been convicted of serious corruption.
I do not agree with you. You don't have your facts correct. In my government, 3 ministers were charged to court. In fact, one died in the process. The Inspector General of Police was charged and convicted. The President of the Senate in my own party was charged to court. Our Minister of Education was charged to court. What more do you want?
One
Not
of those,
to talk of
permanent secretaries and things. Who currently is under investigation is your own eldest daughter.
Yes,
your own eldest daughter.
Yes, what happened to my eldest daughter?
She is still being investigated by the anti-corruption watchdog inside your own country.
So what? Has he been
Would you
found?
accept responsibility for her?
No, why should I? He's old enough. He's a girl of 42 years old. Will you accept responsibility for your son at the age of 21 for whatever he does? Now, don't ask me that type of question. I found it very insulting, with all due respect. Now, you won't ask that type of question to a European leader?
I think you'd find if a European leader, whose daughter was in a European Senate was accused of serious fraud charges, that would not reflect.
That's an allegation. And anything can be alleged. You can be alleged to be a liar. And when it's investigated, if you are not a liar, that is the allegation goes. That's an allegation. And you don't work on allegations.
I said it was an allegation.
Yes,
I accepted
but then
an allegation.
when you have,
what I would ask you before we finish is this: Nigeria is one of the, in terms of resources, richest countries in the world. I think you're number 7, number 8 in terms of oil exports in the entire
potentially
world.
Rich country. We are not.
Well, your oil reserves are proven and they are vast, and yet, according to UN figures, something like 1/3 of your population lives in extreme poverty, and that was the case when you left office. Can you explain why that was the case?
Now, we have oil, but compared with the population of Nigeria, of over 150 million, and the oil that we are getting, compared with any other country, what is the population of Saudi Arabia? We are producing today less than 1.8 million barrels of oil a day. Saudi Arabia is producing 9 million barrels. Now you cannot compare. So, or UAE or Kuwait. So when you make this comparison, make it in the right context.
But would you accept that Nigeria has not utilized the opportunities and resources that it has?
I don't agree with you. Nigeria has used the opportunities and resources that it had to the best of its ability, but I will say there have been lapses. And you can say the same thing of any country. Now, and the fact that Nigeria is fighting these lapses and is doing something about it, I think one should even say, hooray to Nigeria. There are many countries where these things are covered up. In our own case, we are ready to go out and say, yes, we set up, under my own administration, 2 bodies, unlike any other country, that are fighting corruption. 2 bodies. And even here, the Metropolitan Police gave us kudos for the way we
final
are
thought, because we must end, but your successor, President Yar'Adua, I've quoted some of his words suggesting that he was unhappy with the inheritance he received. Are you happy? Are you happy with the direction in which he is taking Nigeria today?
No, I don't want to comment on that.
Why not?
Because it's too soon for me to comment.
Too soon?
Yeah.
He took over in 2007.
Well.
How many years does he need before you're prepared to tell me whether he is doing a good job or not?
You should ask him. If what you said he has said is true, you should ask him. And I believe that what you said he has said is not true. Because he won't say so. I know that this man is, to the best of my knowledge, for now, is a good person. But he himself knows that being a good person alone does not make you an effective, a successful, and a great president. You need much more than that.
Olusegun Obasanjo, thank you very much for being on Hard Talk.
Steve, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.
Global problems now need global solutions.
Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept it that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. And you better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone, or the times they are a-changing.
The global financial crisis makes this G20 summit important for everyone. Get the expert analysis on BBC World News.
This is Hwan Kim Lake, located in the heart of the city.
Many young couple, they come here, they come for make the good feeling for love. Now we go dancing.
Explore the heart of the real Hanoi. Every city has a soul.
Hello, I'm Patrick Moore. Welcome to the sky at night.
This is it, the Lovell Telescope at Jobble Bank, and we're right inside it.
The weather always seemed to be good at night. I remember lying in a deck chair looking at the meteors.
There will undoubtedly be many more discoveries from the Lovell Telescope in the decade to come.
For the people of the Russian north, climate change is not just about variations in temperature and differences in snowfall. It's about how it affects them as human beings.
Japan may still be the world's second largest economy, but it has been hit especially hard by the economic crisis. Its exports have declined by almost 50% in the last year. So how will they cope here? What does the future hold for them? Join me, Matt Fry, for special coverage on BBC World News.